breast milk science. It's a thing, and it's our thing. We're By Heart. Our mission is simple: make the best infant formula in the world. We partnered with breast milk scientists, world-class doctors, and passionate parents to write a new recipe from scratch. And while we put a lot into By Heart, there's a long list of things you won't see on our ingredient list, like corn syrup, soy, or palm oil. Curious if By Heart is right for your baby? New customers can shop the starter pack and get 2 cans for the price of 1 at byheart.com/getstarted. This is a limited time offer. Additional terms and conditions apply.
Christian parenting.
Welcome to the Christian Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, Steph Thurling. I'm the Executive Director of Christian Parenting, a mom of 3, and I am so glad that you're here. This is a place where you can bring your real self, no matter what that looks like today, and be given the space, resources, and encouragement you need to set aside perfection and grow into the perfectly imperfect parent God made you to be. Hey guys, today I have Leslie Means on the Christian Parenting Podcast, and I am so excited about this conversation. Leslie lives in Nebraska with her husband and her 3 young kids, and she is the founder of Her View from Home, which is a website that features heartfelt contributor stories on things like motherhood, marriage, faith, and grief. And today we are talking all about her book, So God Made a Mother. This book is a collaboration of writers who talk about all things mothering. It is tender and real, and it will probably leave you in tears at times. At least it did for me. Leslie and we get to talk about her story, about how she started Her View from Home, the importance of community when it comes to parenting, how God made mothers and all parents really to be so many amazing and complex things. We touch a little bit on hustle culture and how sharing your story is so important. I hope that you enjoy my time with Leslie. I think you're really going to love it. Hi, Leslie. Welcome to the
Hello.
Christian Parenting Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Always an honor.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here today. So thank you for joining us. I think this is going to be really fun. I love your passion for speaking life and truth over moms. I just adore it. And so I can't wait to talk all about your book. It's called So God Made a Mother. And then also your website, Her View from Home. We're going to dive into that stuff. But before we get going, I want to talk about your home.
Okay.
So can you tell us about your family and then describe them in a word or a phrase?
Okay. That is so tough, Steph. Okay. My family, my immediate family here is my husband, Kyle, and we've been married for 18 years. And we have 3 kids, a 14-year-old girl, a 12-year-old girl, and a 5-year-old boy. So I always like to say we are in it. We are in that. My kids aren't driving yet. And so I am a constant taxi for all 3 of these children 7 days a week. So that's currently our stage of parenting.
I'm in that stage too, so I really relate to that.
Because how old are your kids?
6, 8, and 10.
Oh yeah. Oh, you are in it. You're in it as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're really fun. I think my extended family. I have 3 older sisters and lots of nieces and nephews and brother-in-laws and all that. I think we are loud and proud. Very loud. We are, we talk a lot about, my maiden name is Wechter, and the Wechter sisters, when we're coming, because we like to chat and we like to laugh really loud and we like to have fun but we can be pretty serious too. So I think that kind of goes down to my family of 5 too. Loud and proud and fun. That's how I'm going to describe us.
I love that. And I love that it gives us insight into your family and then your family of origin too.
Yeah.
And it's carried over. I think that's really cool. I like that. So I'm also asking all my guests, what is one thing that you want every parent to know? This is another hard one.
This is a really hard one because do you think my answer is going to change when my kids are, 5 years from now?
Probably, right?
I know. One thing I want every parent to know. I'm going to go back to when I was a young parent with young girls, 2 and 6 months old. And I would probably say to that, Leslie, that you're doing better than you think. That kind of makes me want to choke up a little bit. I think you don't realize until you look back at hindsight of how good you were doing in those moments. Oh my gosh. It's just so hard. You know, a lot of people, we talk about raising teens, and raising teens are a different kind of challenge. But those early years with those babies, I found really hard, and just a whole new life. And I was pretty stubborn. I don't think I let people in because I was really building the website and working full time and very much like I can do this, whatever. And so I didn't lean on other moms as much as I should have. And I needed to at that moment because I needed their support. And now I lean into moms all the time. I'm like, please help me. I don't know what I'm doing. So that's a long-winded answer to say, I think you're doing better than you think.
I love that answer. And I think everyone needs to hear that, especially in those little years. Because I felt the same way. I felt like I was failing left and right. Like,
yes,
no idea what I was doing and just confused and overwhelmed.
Yep.
All the time.
And it's so hard. And we had no money, and you're building, you want to build this dream, but you're so young. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard because I was 26 when I had my first baby. So I'm like, and I'm 41 now. So a lot has changed in those 14 years.
Yeah. And it surprises me to hear that you feel like you didn't lean on other moms and community then, because that is so much of what you have built in Her View from Home. That's so much, it seems like this community that's so strong. So do you feel like that's part of why you built Her View from Home? Or tell us about your website and its mission. And let's just go into that.
Steph, I feel like every time I do a podcast, it's like my therapy session, and now I'm learning something about myself. Why have I not realized? I think you're right. I really do. Duh. I think that was a big reason of why I built it, because I needed that community. I was searching for it for myself. Jeez. Like right there. That's it. I am this broadcast journalism girl. I graduated from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. That's where I met my husband, and we were in broadcast journalism there. I worked for Husker Vision, so the big screens, the sport. I was, TV. It was my thing. I was writing since I was a little girl. I would go out to our barn and talk to my cats and tell stories like that. I think what's interesting with all the writers on Her View, so many of them, they also say they started at such a young age. Like they knew they wanted to tell stories even when they were in grade school. I don't know what it is, but it's.
I decided I was going to write a book when I was 10.
See? Isn't that crazy? It's like that common thread that is amongst all of the writers in the community. So I knew, and I thought it was going to be TV. I was going to go, New York, right? Like that was the ceiling. I was going to be Today Show or Good Morning America or something. So Kyle and I got married right out of college, and he went to his dream gig working for the NBA, doing video production of things for the NBA, for the Houston Rockets in Texas. His dream job. And of course I went with him. And you can't at the time get a good reporting gig, even anything really, in Houston, Texas, right out of college. That's like top market TV. And so I found my first job in Texas, in Beaumont, Texas. The people were fantastic, but it was an hour and a half away from Houston. So I was driving an hour and a half there and driving an hour and a half back every day. And quickly that kind of became too much. And my husband, being the good guy that he is, he was like, Les, you want to go back home, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And so we moved back to Nebraska, where I started my first TV gig in Kearney, Nebraska, where I am now. And I always say this part to my husband. So, he's in his dream gig. Then he moves back to Kearney, and he couldn't find a job right away. So he was roguing cornfields, like pulling weeds out of cornfields after being in his dream gig for me. So that's never lost on me what he did.
That's
and
so sweet.
I was I know he's a good guy. Let him have a big head with that. So I was in TV the first couple years, and then once again, I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep working my way up. But an opportunity came for me to start a local talk show, and it is still called NTV's Good Life, and it was a place where I could interview people in Nebraska. It was so cool. Like, it was great. And I was like, okay, maybe we'll do this for a little while longer. And then we had our first baby. Then we had our second baby. And my girls are like 2 and 6 months. And I felt like God was calling me somewhere else. And it's the weirdest. This is the part of the story that I can never explain, that it's whispery and people will be like, well, that's the Holy Spirit, Leslie. Yes, I know. But I just couldn't explain it at the time because on paper, this gig looked great. I mean, I had good hours at that time for TV, which was kind of unheard of. I was going in at 6 a.m. and leaving at 2 p.m. And that was way better than like 1 a.m., which is what I was doing when I first started working there. And I got to talk to like 10 different people a day at interviews. And really, on paper, it looked so good. But I felt this something was taking me out of it. And I got a call from a woman who I kind of knew through TV. She left a message on my work phone and said, hey, Leslie, when you're done with the show today, will you give me a call? And I remember in that moment saying, wouldn't that be cool if she had a job for me? Like, so weird. Called her, she had a job at the local Chamber of Commerce. And because, I don't know, I'm loud and kind of wild, I just took it. I took this job opportunity at a business at the Chamber. And the first day when I was there, I had to do a Google spreadsheet. And I didn't know how to do a Google. I was TV. I didn't know. Bald. Went home for lunch. Bald. I was like, God, what did I do? What is this? What am I doing? But I eventually met so many people through those business connections and learned about business. And when I was in that business world, I missed the TV world. And that's when I was like, oh, I'm going to start Her View from Home. I started it with a couple other founders at the time. They're gone now. They left the site. But that's when we launched it, was 2012. And I took those business skills and the TV background that I had to make that website.
I love that you've done so many different things, like so many different jobs that you've had have led you to where you are now.
I know. And it's so hard to see that in hindsight. And I have a few more things I could say about it if you have time for me to tell you.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
So, okay. It's 2015 and actually into 2015, early 2016, I think. And I'm still working at the Chamber of Commerce and Her View is growing. But I mean, whatever. My other business partners left at this point because we weren't making enough money for them to pay the bills. So I totally understood, like, why would they want to stay? And they're like, Leslie, this is your passion. And so they left and it's just me running this website and we're paying writers. So I have enough to pay the writers and, keep the lights on to pay our web guys. That's about it. Not really paying myself anything yet. And my husband, being the good guy he is, we went out to dinner. We're having a glass of wine and he's like, Les, I think you need to go all in on Her View from Home. You need to quit your chamber job and you need to go all in. And I was both terrified and so thankful that he believed in me enough to do that. Oh, sorry. I'm emotional this week. But really, and he knew and I knew that, we didn't have any money. Like we've not come from money. And we both knew that if it didn't work, I would have to get a full-time job somewhere else again. And I knew I'd made enough connections in town. A lot of people say, if you have backup plans, that means that you're afraid it won't work. No, I think if you have a backup plan, you're just being wise, Yeah. you got to pay bills and you got to feed your kids. And so I went all in and it was June of 2016 and the website was about broke. And I had about a couple months of savings saved up for the site. And that was about it. And that month, we also found out we were expecting our third baby, our little Keithan, who is now 5, almost 6. And any person in that situation would be probably terrified, panicked, but I had that ease. I had that whisper. I had that, like, it's going to be okay. And I remember specifically laying on my bed and being like, God, please take this from me. Please take this from my shoulders. Do what you want with it, because I have no idea. And we refinanced our house that month, and that gave us another month where we didn't have to pay the mortgage. And not long after that, we got an email from a woman who said she found us and she'd been praying about it and she wanted to share her story on HerView. And we were pretty small then. We were about 20,000 Facebook followers and we're about 1.4 million now. And I said, yeah, absolutely. I would be honored to share it. And it was a story about her friend who had died by suicide 4 months after her baby was born. And we published that. And we got an email from a woman not long after that who said, that story saved my life. And the website was never the same after, never the same. Suddenly people found us, our socials grew, our website grew. And I do remember being like, okay, God, if this is what you want me to do, like I'm going to keep going. And it was just, a lot of people can say, or maybe say, you think that was just luck that happened? No, like to me, it's all God. It's been God through this whole process because this girl from Nebraska who used to just talk to her farm cats could not ever do this on her own. And this has happened time and time again in our almost 11 years that HerView's been live. Those moments when it's really hard. And then all of a sudden, if I just hold on a little bit longer, something good happens from that tough stuff. So that's kind of the nutshell story of HerView. That takes me a long time, but I love telling the story because I think it's really important to understand the context of it.
I love hearing God's faithfulness through all of that and how not only he was faithful to you, of course, but you're faithful to his calling to you in your life. And I think that's just really amazing. And I understand why you get emotional about it because it's such a beautiful story of just being steadfast and true to what you know what you're supposed to do. And that's really powerful. So I'm glad that you were able to share that with us. The book is called So God Made a Mother. And you have it divided into sections. And I love that. And it's also God made a mother tender. God made a mother proud, strong, etc. And within each of those sections, different writers tell their little stories and reflections. And so you get a variety of experiences and stories, and I love it. But I'm kind of curious to know why you decided to name the sections those things. Like, how did you decide?
Yeah, so I think the biggest piece for us was we didn't want a mom to pick it up and feel like she couldn't relate. And every story in this book, which I find so interesting, is whether you have a toddler or a teen or your kids are grown or you're pregnant, I feel like you're going to still relate to all the stories in this book. And we wanted to make sure women knew that even if it's not titled So God Made a Toddler, you could still read these chapters and understand the words these women are saying. And there's a lot to learn from that. When we're learning about other women's stories who have kids of different ages and different experiences. And we wanted to make sure we didn't miss that. Thank you for that question. I love that because this is the first time I've really talked about that. So thank you.
As a working mom, 2 of my goals for the new year are to take better care of myself and simplify. And one of the ways I'm doing that is with HelloFresh. There's a reason HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. They make it so simple. All I have to do is pick my meals and my delivery date, and all of the pre-portioned ingredients and step-by-step instructions come right to my door. That means less hassle, less wasted food, and they have health-forward options like over 30 calorie-smart and protein-smart recipes each week. The recipe cards are easy to follow and they're full of pictures, so it makes cooking with my kids really fun too. And we all know that when they are involved in the cooking, they're more likely to eat it, so everyone wins. We have a great deal for you right now because I know that mornings can be crazy as a parent. I often find myself forgetting breakfast or grabbing something really fast. But you can go to hellofresh.com/CPPodcastFree and use the code CPPodcastFree for free breakfast for life. That's 1 breakfast item per box while the subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at hellofresh.com/CPPodcastFree with the code CPPodcastFree.
Yeah, well, it seemed very intentional. Like when you pick it up, it is very intentional and it's creative. I just loved it. And there's so many relatable things in there. I read Did I Love You Enough by Lori E. Angel. and I was in the airport and I cried. Like, not like, oh, cute, like she's reading an emotional book. Like, I was quivering, like trying not to ugly cry, sitting at the terminal, being just so awkward. But the stories are really good. And I feel like even as a writer and a speaker, sometimes I really struggle to find the words to describe motherhood and how much I love my kids. And this book like gives the words, and I just think it's good. So when someone reads the book, when they walk away, they put it down. What do you want them to walk away with?
This is a really good one too. I think, so something that has been interesting to me that I've been fighting against in the past few years, because the internet's loud. And I feel like a lot of people have tried to say that you have to be one thing, or you have to have one mission or one brand or whatever it is. And I have always felt like her view and the book is me. And I've never felt like I was just one thing. And at the core of it, like, I just think that if it can be something that's so simple, if we have to be on those simple terms, that it really can be that you are seen in your story. And I want women to, when they read this, know that they're not alone. It sounds so cliche, but I really think it's it, that they are not alone, that they are seen in their story, and that even if they aren't the author in these pages, that their words and their story is still worthy and so valuable. And I want them to be able to be brave enough to, and that's hard. It is brave enough. That's a hard thing to say to somebody, but I tell the writers I'm like, do you guys know how brave you are to share your stories? I want the people who read this to be able to take it into their own homes and to their own friend groups and sit around a kitchen table and eat casserole and share their story with other friends so they can open up to people. Because I think that is the good stuff at the core of it all. All the noise, all the loudness. No, the good stuff is right here in the stories that we're telling. Did that make any sense? I'm just
no,
rambling,
it does.
But I
think stories hold a lot of power.
Yes.
But it requires a lot of vulnerability to share our stories. And so when we see other people doing that, we're more comfortable, we're invited in to do the same. And so I hear what you're saying. Like when people read someone else sharing their story from a place of truth and vulnerability and passion, then they can go to their MOPS group and be like, this is what's going on in my life or what I experienced. And there's power there. We need stories. There's healing and growth and relatability within stories. So I love that.
Apparently it's what I needed when I was a new mom and what I need now with my kids being teens. And, I don't know. There's something so powerful in that simplicity too. That's the good stuff right there. And I feel like I've kind of been fighting for it. For this place, what I love about Her View and what I love about the book is that it's not a preaching and teaching book. It really is a storytelling book. Mm-hmm. And for me, I've always been like, hey, if you want to talk about your faith, I love that, which I was really happy that the talk show that I started, they allowed that for me too, which is kind of unheard of in TV. And so I always felt like I had to include that in whatever I did. But I don't know. I feel like we're missing out a lot today, especially after COVID. So many people are one side or another. I just fight for that like middle ground where we can just sit and listen to other people and tell stories and try to be in their situation and understand it. Maybe not agree with it, but just understand where other people are coming from. And I feel like you get that in So God Made a Mother. I hope people understand that. There's some tough stories in here too. And there's, not all women have good relationships with their mother, and some have lost kids. And there's hard stuff and beautiful stuff and bittersweet. And it's just a good mixture of all of it.
Well, I love how you emphasize not wanting people to feel alone in motherhood, because it's so easy to just look at someone and be like, yeah, I understand, or I've been there too. But when someone takes the time to be like, this was my experience and I really can enter into this with you, then there's just so much more connection there, and so much more community. And then you're not going to feel alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all. And maybe we know that now because of COVID and we were all so alone during that time. That maybe now I do feel like we're better. I know I'm better at sharing the vulnerable stuff. I know there's still stuff. Man, there should be more books because there's lots of stuff I still haven't talked about or opened up about, and I don't know if I will. But I'm better. I'm better than I used to be. And I think we're breaking down those walls and those barriers because we know how much we need that community. And especially after COVID, we're there now,
Mm-hmm. I want to go back for a minute to when you're wanting to throw in the towel and quit Herview, and you refinanced your house and you're still exhausted and you're newly pregnant and in every single way you're exhausted, right? And wanting to quit, but you keep going because you feel like God wants you to keep going. And it all seems really hard, but you do it anyway. Can you just speak to the exhausted mom who's there right now? And maybe they're not tired because of a ministry or a website, but they're just tired because life is hard for a variety of reasons. And they know they have to keep going, but they want to throw in the towel. Like, what do you have to say to that mom?
Oh, man. Steph, that's a hard one. Can I tell you? I don't think I told you. I did quit. I quit one night. I gave up. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning. I was like, what are you doing? You can't quit.
Never quit things at night. Only quit things in the morning.
Right? Because you're always, and then you're in bed and you're like, your head can't stop thinking. No. In the morning, you always have, and you know what? Maybe that's it. Maybe, if you can just hold on for a second and step away for a bit, and go get a cup of coffee or find that friend you need to talk to and pause and pray and beg God, how many times, all the time I'm begging God, like, please, what am I, just take this, because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I think that, we can have a different perspective then when we come back to it. And maybe that is, we need that pause. I think too, since COVID, we've been able to slow down a little bit and be maybe more intentional that hustle, which I will fully admit I was the hustle culture in those early years because all I wanted to do was I had these 2 little babies and I had to build this business. I had to go. And you know what? It's awful. I missed out on a lot of really good friendships in those early years. A lot. And it's only been the past, I have some really great friends in this new little development we're in, and it's only been the past couple years because I've been intentional to build those friendships that I'm there. I missed out on all of that because I was hustling so much. And gosh, I don't know. I did I have to hustle? Was God going to do this anyway? That's the stuff that I wonder, what did I miss out on? Maybe we don't have to be so ingrained in that day to day, and that we can pause and breathe and take a break a little bit.
I think that's so hard as moms to pause or just to say I have to slow down because there's always more stuff to do.
Always.
Literally always. I mean, you could just work 24 hours a day and still not have everything done. So, and then we do have that hustle culture of like, do more, sign your kids up for more, be on all the committees and get all the work done. And I think it's refreshing to hear people say, I did that, but there's a better way.
Yep.
And it's okay to go back and forth too. Cause like God does want us to work. Like you had to work to get Herview up and going and get this book out. And those are good things.
I couldn't just pray and be like, hey, God, just do this for me. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work either. Also, I should mention, you'll see a turtle in the book. And that's something that the writers know. Herview's Herview's mascot is a turtle. And we say that because it's taken me almost 11 years to get where we are. And there are people and websites who started after Herview and grew way faster and have multiple books and podcasts. And we just didn't do it that way. I couldn't do it that way. I think, it took me 5 years before I was able to hire staff, and we're still going strong. And so we love the turtle mentality. Our publisher is great. They're like, Leslie, turtles aren't really in the Bible. I'm like, I know, but I just love the turtles because it's slow and steady wins the race, and they live for a really long time. And I feel like that's Herview and kind of what our mission is that story, and a good story, which we all have, never goes out of style, no matter what changes on the internet, online. And I feel like they're gonna read these stories in the book, and it will never go out of style. Women will be able to relate to these stories forever. It's at the core of motherhood. So it may take a long time, but that's okay too. There's so much learning going on when you're slowly doing the next thing.
I love that idea of the turtle for literally everything in life, but for Herview, but also for parenting. Everyone always says it's a marathon, not a sprint. Marriage is a marathon, not a sprint. Parenting is, but it really is a slow process of learning how to parent and learning how to lean on God, learning how to find community, learning who each of your kids are, because they're all different. It's all slow. And we just have to embrace that, even though it's hard.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm going to go find the turtle in the book now.
I know. I have turtles all over my office. Writers will send me turtles. It's cute.
I think that's really cute. We are unfortunately running out of time, but I feel like, Leslie, we could talk forever.
I know. We could talk for a long time.
I hope that you come back and join us.
I would love to.
Again. Yeah, that would be really great. Before we go, though, can you tell everyone where they can find you, how they can connect with you, follow along, and then where they can get the book?
Yep. So I personally, in turtle form, just started my own social media like last year. I've been writing columns for local papers for like 12 years, but I just started my own stuff just under my own name, Leslie Means. But go to Herview from Home if you haven't already. Incredible writers from across the globe who share on motherhood, marriage, faith, grief, and relationships, vulnerable, beautiful, powerful stuff. And the book will be available everywhere books are sold.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll put all links and show notes that people can really easily find you in the book and all the things. So thank you so much for being on. I just adore you, and I love your passion for moms, and just keep doing what you're doing because we need it. So thank you for joining me today.
Honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you feel really encouraged by Leslie. There is so much goodness in this episode. But if there is one thing that you take away from this podcast today, I want to remind you that you are seen in your story. Just like Leslie says, your story is worthy and it's valuable. So go out and share it. In the meantime, you can check out the links in the show notes and go get your copy of So God Made a Mother. I think you're really going to love reading it. I really highly recommend it. Thank you for joining me today. May God bless you. May you remember that God chose you and placed you in your story. He sees you, He loves you, He knows you, and you are His. Thank you so much for listening to the Christian Parenting Podcast. If you haven't subscribed, you can do that now, and that way you won't miss an episode. You can connect with us on Instagram at ChristianParenting_org and see more resources at ChristianParenting.org. And if you're a mom raising daughters, we have the perfect course for you. Visit cpguides.org to learn more about our Helping Moms Raise Confident Daughters online courses. And lastly, if you have enjoyed this podcast or other Christian parenting resources, please consider donating to this ministry. Visit ChristianParenting.org and click the donate button. Christian Parenting is 100% donor funded, and none of this would be possible without your help. We are so grateful for you. You're amazing. God bless you.